welcome back. And in this video I'll be explaining why comparing stats of Batman and Iron Man is stupid. For a while online and on social media there's been a long debate or war between comic book fanboys on who's better, Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark. Well, to begin with, this whole thing is just stupid. In this video I shall explain why, and why this debate needs to end. It's got a bit hay fever. First of all, the numbers are off. For example, Iron Man is said to have a lower IQ than Batman. Well, first of all, IQ tests are bullshit. According to science, IQ tests have been used for decades to assess intelligence, but they are fundamentally flawed because they do not take into account the complex nature of the human intellect and its different components. Tony Stark has a lower IQ than Batman, yet has a better knowledge and intellect, especially when it comes to all things science related. Batman is not all knowledgeable in science, hence, for example, in comics, cartoons and films, he has relied on people like Lucius Fox and Cyborg, for example, for the answers. No way is Tony Stark's IQ that low if IQ was a legit thing. Yes, Batman is a great mechanic, but he's no scientific genius. Also, the problem with comparing anyone is it's pointless. It would be like me comparing guns. Neither is better than the other. They just have advantages and disadvantages. Plus, they have different specialities. Batman could indeed be smarter than Tony Stark, but doesn't understand science, or maybe a better detective, but a lousy scientist. Batman needs prep time, and sure, give him a few days to read up on stuff, and yes, he could easily catch up, but Stark doesn't need prep time. He already has a library of science in his head, albeit Batman does have the intellect to converse with Tony on sciencey things, if explained to him. Stark may make a shit detective, but is a scientific genius, and so forth. These are not necessarily accurate examples, but this is why also comparing IQ is pointless. You could have an IQ bigger than Einstein, but still be a moron, which also shows these tests are flawed. And believe me, I've personally met morons with high IQs. If you look at overall performance of intellect with films and comics, Tony Stark is way more intelligent than Bruce. Also, anyone who starts young in a field has the capacity to be better than those who start late. Batman, over the years, became a genius. Tony Stark was born a genius. Also, comparing wealth is stupid because their technology is more expensive than their net worth. Iron Man is said to be worth 1.6 billion. That's nothing in today's world when he needs to replace his chest reactor, for example. His reactor on its own would cost him $36 million each, and his suits each would cost $12.4 billion. Take Richard Branson, his net worth is $3.8 billion, and Elon Musk is $199.8 billion. So for Tony and Bruce to live their lifestyles with all that fancy tech, their net worth would have to be the same as Musk's or higher. Oh, I'm trying to sneeze. Bruce's net worth is 9.2 billion, but after Joker Wars, he hit $100 billion. 100 billion sounds more accurate and realistic because each Batmobile costs 18 million and his suits cost $1,058,600 each. The comic book figures are way off and also out of date because back when these comics were originally written, the net worth of Batman and Iron Man during that time would have been a lot in them days, but not today. When you look at the comic book numbers, they were unrealistic because the amount of Batmobiles, let alone the price of the Batcave, and the suits that Batman goes through, and the amount of suits and arc reactors Iron Man goes through or has to build, they both would essentially be financially bankrupt. Also, if we were to go from the movies, Bruce Wayne, despite being intelligent, doesn't have the full intellect to understand, for example, concepts like the Speed Force. Barry Allen, as seen, has a hard time trying to explain it to him. If he, on the other hand, explained it to Tony Stark, Tony Stark has the scientific know-how and the intellect to understand it and would know how it works and the theory behind it. Like I said, when comparing people, there isn't neither the best or the worst. Bruce Wayne isn't better than Tony Stark and vice versa. Because it all goes back to they both have advantages and disadvantages. Bruce Wayne is a better fighter, you could say, because he spent most of his childhood to adulthood training in martial arts, etc., whereas Tony Stark spent most of his childhood doing mechanics and science and robotics, etc. Apart from Wayne Industries building technology, Batman wasn't building stuff until he was in his adulthood. Whereas if you look at Tony Stark's childhood and asked a young Tony Stark, even say around the ages of 10 to 12 years old, Tony Stark, no problem, could easily build a Batmobile. He would be able to do it, no hassle. So you see the difference there? Now, I just want to lay my cards down on the table here. I'm not into the childish fanboy war of Marvel versus DC. I actually am someone who loves both Marvel and DC and love both Batman and Iron Man. I'm making this video because, like I said, the whole debate is silly. And the problem in fanboy arguments is people are letting their love for a character blind their reason. And also, just to highlight, even the man himself, Stan Lee, said the whole thing about these debates is stupid because it also comes down to who writes the comic or story to begin with. For example, plot armor. If a Batman fan writes a Batman versus Iron Man story, he's going to be in Batman's corner and vice versa. We all know in reality that Spider-Man, power to power, is no match for Doctor Strange. But look how he got owned by Thanos and all the other characters in Endgame. But he outwitted Strange in No Way Home. Because one, it's mass, but true, but it's also his film. It's part of the plot. See? It's part of the plot. So this whole Batman v Iron Man, has to stop. All these versus arguments have to stop, because if stripping them apart bit by bit, then you realise it becomes stupid, because both comparisons have advantages and disadvantages, neither one better than the other, but both equally with strengths and weaknesses. I don't think there's much more I can say on that, but I hope you get the point. And so with that, Thanks for watching, take care and be well.